This is Unit 7, Lesson 2, Introduction to Probability. This first video that we're going to do is just going to be some defining of some terms, some explaining of what the intersection, the union, and the complement are, because those are in your notes and people are struggling a little bit with visualizing what those look like. So you need to know what probability is. Probability is simply the likelihood that an event will happen. And we calculate that by setting it up as a fraction, and we do a fraction being the number of elements in the event over the number of elements in the entire set, or the universal set, as we'll call it. And the elements are just each one of the things that could happen, and then we'll organize those into different sets and different events. So our first example we're just going to use the numbers 1 through 6. You'll see it a lot just written as you rolled a number cube. So let's get all our numbers out here and let's go through and talk about what all of these different things mean. The first one is an intersection, and an intersection is usually written as A and B, and it might be written as A and then this weird U, upside down U shape. That's A and B. So if you go back and we use the example 1 in lesson 2, example 1 says that event A is a prime number. So these would be all the prime numbers right here in this circle. And event B is the event that you roll an even number. So we'll put all the even numbers in event B. So when we sort this out, our prime numbers are 2, 3, and 5. And then our even numbers are 4, 2, and 6. Notice, 2 falls in both of those circles. It's a prime number and it's an even number at the same time. So when we're trying to determine what the and is, we're looking at the overlap. The and is where they share elements. So the probability, if we were doing probability, would be 1 out of 6 numbers. If we were just naming the set, we would say that this set was A and B, and the set, we got to use set notation, is 2. So the number of A and B equals 1. There's one element in that set. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to divide our data into sets and then use the information we have about the sets to write our probability problems. So that's how you would determine an intersection. An intersection is just going to be the things that the two events have in common. So let's look at another subset, and that subset would be A or B. We use a U shape to represent the or you might just see it written out A or B. And when we do that, we want to look at the things that they both have. We're just going to look at everything in both sets. We know that in set A, we have a 2, a 3, and a 5. And in event B, we have a 2, a 4, and a 6. So when we put those two things together, we just want to look at all those numbers as one big subset. So we would say that A or B as a set would be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Notice, 2 is shared by both of the events, but we only write it down once because it actually only happens one time. It just happens to fall into 2 different events. Just like you might go to a party at one friend's house and then later that night go across town to another friend's house to go to a party. You went to both of those events, but there aren't 2 of you. One of you didn't go to one party and one of you went to the other party. The same person went to both parties. And when we talk about how many elements are in that subset, we would say the number of elements in A or B. And we just count. How many things are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 numbers in that set, so there are 5 elements in that subset. The last thing we want to look at is the complement. The complement is not a difficult concept. I just need you to keep in mind that the complement, which is often written as A to the C power, this is the complement, is just everything that's not A in this case. So we want it to be like if I just wrote, hey, all the stuff that's not A. What's not in event A? Well, these three things are in event A. This one, so we're going to write it as a set. This one is not in event A. This 4 is not in event A. And this 6 is not in event A. So the complement would be all the things that are not in event A. So if you get a little confused by the complement, think about it as the not in that group, not in that event.